never know it all. I keep on learning that to live encouragement, it takes encouragement. Got a plan, a seed of confidence, and then you nourish it. No matter what it takes, let it take all it needs. I will never hit the brakes, cause I got you with me. I'm just living. When it comes to limitations, I don't listen. All mash like Griffin. Yeah.
Take my hands, it'll be okay. Close your eyes and let them fade away. We can get away from this place. You and me, we got that runaway phase. Take my hands, it'll be okay. Close your eyes and let them fade away. We can get away from this place. You and me, we got that runaway phase.
Stay on the runaway, keep on my renegade. All we got is time together, but I ain't got time to play. Let haters come my way, say what they gonna say. Treat them like my fears and keep on staring them back in the face. Keep living like there's no other day after today. Then day after tomorrow, 2 steps closer to being great. Cause that's my fate, if not that's fine. Only way to lose is if we never even try. Preach.
Take my hands, it'll be okay. Close your eyes and let them fade away. We can get away from this place. You and me, we got that runaway phase. Take my hands, it'll be okay. Close your eyes and let them fade away. We can get away from this place. You and me, we got that runaway phase. I can see it in your eyes. You're ready for a hell of a fight. I'll take yours if you take my time. 'Cause all I have to give when we love is when we really live. Let's live a life. Take my hand, it'll be okay. Close your eyes and let them fade away. We can get away from this place. You and me, we got that runaway phase. Take my hand, it'll be okay. Close your eyes and let them fade away. We can get away from this place. You and me, we got that runaway phase.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For Spike, I forgot to make up a nickname going. I am Matt Wright, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom. I was really trying to come up with something at the last second there. It was not.
I assumed you were just going to default to skinny legs and all again, but
yeah, I mean, it's a classic, but
it's a good one. I was caught off guard last time, so this time it just would have been a familiar thing. Would have been
Right.
nice. But anyway, hey everyone, how are you doing? I'm Spike Cohen.
First and foremost, let me thank Low Tide Kava Bar, and who are we thanking on?
Kroger. We're thanking Kroger.
We're thanking Kroger.
So, turns out you can't get Zephyr Hills water in South Carolina, or at least not anywhere I went. Try to look for it. So we're back to Kroger drinking water.
Ah, well, Bula Vinaka.
Bula Vinaka.
So I am so excited about how I'm beginning this one.
You have been telling me that.
I know. I'm so happy about this. Oh, also, let me thank Alden Rest, who allows me to use his music for the opening of the show. Good buddy of mine from Tennessee. Great guy.
Nice. Thank you, Alden.
Yeah. His real name's Tripp, which is weird. Yep.
Alden is his stage name?
Okay, so I guess Alden is his middle name. And his real
okay.
name is Tripp. And he was like, oh, yeah, that's and I was like, where'd you get the name? And he goes, oh, that's my middle name. Oh.
Usually Trip is a nickname.
Yeah, no, that's his first name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Trip Alden.
Thank you, Tripp Alden. Tripp Alden Ware. So Adam Freeman, who was on the writer's block a couple of weeks ago, he tagged me in this article today on Vice. And he said, is this legal? Always a fun one. And normally when I see something from Vice, I'm like, I don't really care.
I don't care if it's legal, right?
Right, yeah. I mean, I'm probably going to disagree with whatever this article says.
Okay.
But this article had me at the headline, but I can't, unfortunately, I can't, I actually, instead of paraphrasing it, I pulled the article up because I want to you have to hear this.
You've been super excited about this.
I have been so excited about this. Because immediately I said, this is going to be Spike's hero.
Okay.
So I read the article and it's a riveting article, one, and then I can't wait to get your opinion on whether or not what this guy does is legal.
Okay.
According to the Oregonian, which I'm assuming is Oregon's paper,
Right.
Gregory Lee Rodvelt, 66, allegedly rigged his 15-acre property like Home Alone when he was forced to hand it over after losing a $2.1 million elder abuse lawsuit filed by his mother.
Okay.
Now,
so he rigged it with booby traps?
oh yeah. And so to add to this, at the time, he was already in jail for getting into an armed standoff with cops in Arizona last year, but they let him out for 2 weeks to get his Oregon property ready to sell.
They let him out on a armed standoff rap.
Yeah.
Nice.
To go get his property prepared to sell.
Because of course that would go well.
Right, because obviously he's just going to go take his stuff and leave.
He's going to get his stuff out of there.
So
what could possibly go
what could
wrong?
ever go wrong here? In late August, a real estate lawyer in charge of selling the house found a sign warning trespassers it was protected with improvised devices and decided to contact the cops. So I'm going to skip this next part and go back up to the very beginning because this is what he rigged this house with. A shotgun rigged rat trap. Spike strips waiting in the driveway.
Oh my gosh.
Booby-trapped animal snares rigged to a parked minivan. A killer hot tub turned on its side to mow down intruders, much like the boulder in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And the one that he's really getting into trouble for on this, after navigating the traps outside, the cops blew open the front door to the house and crept in, accidentally nudging an innocent-looking wheelchair that was rigged to a fishing line tripwire and a shotgun shell. As soon as they triggered it, it set off an explosion, sending a bullet flying into the FBI agent's leg.
Is the agent okay?
Yeah, he's fine. He was just shot in the leg.
But by a shotgun.
By a shotgun.
So, go ahead. I'm sure. There's more.
I mean, the rest of it's just kind of explaining how they're going to have trouble selling the house. They had to bring they brought in the FBI and bomb squads and all that to make sure that everything was out of there. And if you're listening to us, Google killer hot tub, so you can see the picture of how he has this thing set up. It actually yeah, I know. It actually looks kind of dangerous. If you're watching us right now, open it in a different tab and look at this thing.
Yeah, don't X us out.
Don't X us out though. But yeah, So I explained it to him as in, yeah, it is illegal what he did because technically it wasn't his house because he lost it in part of the lawsuit.
Right.
But really, the best part of it is the cops were
in
dumb
jail.
enough to send him to let him out of jail and send him to Oregon, apparently with no supervision, because they were like, oh no, he's going to come back after he does this. He's definitely not a flight risk.
I mean, so that was what got me is, hey, guy that we just had a standoff with. There are a lot of people that I would trust to be out on their own recognizance. Petty theft,
Minor drug
aggravated
possession,
assault,
minor drug possession.
Yeah, I'd let him out and
I
never bring
would,
him back.
right, but
Yeah.
you know, in the legal system today, you're going
Right.
to be let off on your own recognizance.
Yeah. But yeah, drug would be let out on your own recognizance. Drunken, disorderly, so, like that kind of. You've already demonstrated that you don't care what the law is.
Right.
You aren't scared of the police.
Right.
And you're willing to kill them,
To
whatever.
to kill anybody, essentially. If you're willing to murder cops, you're probably willing to murder. And
If you're willing to kill the police.
And you also just lost a lawsuit for elderly abuse to your mom.
To your own mother.
Right, to your
You don't
mother.
care about your parents. You don't care about the police.
Right.
You don't care about anything. Hey,
Just...
I'm going to let you out, and and that's the other, like you said, with clearly little, if not no supervision, then poor supervision.
Very poor supervision. Like,
Not the best supervision we've had here.
No.
We've heard here on Muddy Waters of Freedom. I'm going to let you out and get this place ready for the police to come
well,
that you just tried to kill.
Right. We know you're losing this house. Go get your stuff. Get it
For
to
your
us.
house you're losing.
Right.
Yeah.
For the house you're losing, go get your stuff. Pull it on out of there. Put it in a storage unit. Whatever you need to do, we'll give you a couple of weeks to do that. The fact that he was able to do this in 2 weeks is actually just impressive.
Well, I think his primary concern was clearly not taking care of his house.
Right? No. Like, I'm certain all of his stuff was still there.
with bombs in it. Oh, thank you for sharing that. That is
As soon as I read it, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to open the show with today. And Adam tagged me in that. And I went, yeah, I know what I'm opening the show with.
we're
today.
definitely ending. Yeah. We're definitely, especially considering the rest of the show is going to be about the same thing it's been about for 3
weeks.
I definitely am thankful to you and to Adam for sharing that. So you asked if he's my hero. Okay, so you asked if this is illegal. Yes, obviously.
Right.
Some law was broken.
multiple probably.
But he has a great defense, which is I wasn't there.
I was in jail.
And for that matter, hey, prove that I did this. How do you know the realtor didn't do it?
Right.
Also
true.
I'm hoping that there's more fun to come from this in future in future updates.
I did not look into it any further than that article. And I don't want anything to ruin this. I really hope Vice nailed this one, which will be a shock if they did. But I mean, come on, Vice, you can do one. Make it this one.
Oh, there has to be follow-ups to this. I may have to subscribe to the Oregonian on the off chance that I don't want to miss. He files a thing saying that the realtor did it or something. So you asked if he's my hero. He's not, and I'll tell you why. I don't support elder abuse.
That's fair.
And,
that's very fair. I'll give you that.
I love my mother, especially not your parents. I love my mother. Maybe his mother was a jerk. It'd seem odd that your mother, that maybe, let me step back for a moment, because I'm also not someone who just rigged my home to kill police. I'm not a fan of the state, but I don't want to kill anybody. Maybe she was a bad parent. All things being equal, elder abuse is wrong.
Right.
And I don't support it. Especially not your parents.
Right.
Maybe she was terrible, and this was a
get back at you kind of thing.
Yeah, this was like a
abuse.
Menendez brothers thing.
Right.
I'm gonna beat you up, and then I'm gonna kill the police. So I don't know, but so I, without knowing the details, I can't call him my hero, but I certainly enjoyed hearing about this. And I'm glad no one died or got seriously injured. But
well, I mean, he did get defined seriously injured. He took a shotgun blast to the leg.
Could have been worse.
Right. Could have hit his.
But
Could have hit his.
could have been worse.
Could have hit the carotid artery in
Yeah,
there.
could have hit a femoral artery or
Femoral
whatever.
artery.
So,
The femoral artery. Yeah, could have hit the femoral artery in there and killed him. And apparently, it didn't say anything about him dying. So I'm assuming he's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure if he were dead, this story would take a totally different turn. But so there's some powerful lessons to learn here.
Right.
I think the biggest lesson, really, it's an overarching lesson, which is that if you ever get in a shootout with someone and you have them under your control, maybe don't let them out to go prop their house up before you go visit.
Right.
That seems like a no-brainer to me. But the FBI learned a lesson on that one.
I like that the real estate agent. Good on him for going. No, I ain't doing it. Because when I was selling real estate, I know many that would be like, "Oh, that's a joke," and they'd all be dead. Good on him for going.
How about you go visit? Yeah,
How about we get the cops out here?
I was a realtor very briefly during the boom. If I had been handed a listing that I got to go put it on the MLS and go over there and take some photos, and that was the backstory, I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I think maybe."
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing it. Oh, and you let him back? No, thank you. I think I'll stay back here. You go open that door, and that's so.
Like the realtor was smart enough not to go on property. Like he just went, "No, I ain't doing it. Nope."
This is a clear private sector versus public sector thing. This realtor showed a lot more smarts.
Yes, than
the FBI apparently.
Than the FBI, the Arizona police, and the Oregon police. Yeah, you have this look of concern on your face.
No, I was just reading Brian Wolf. Brian, thank you so much for joining us. Said a couple things. He said, "Look at these handsome gentlemen. Thank you. You're handsome
Brian.
as well."
Yes, thank you.
And then he also said, like, don't support as in not actively donating. Yes, I won't be donating to the canteen of this particular gentleman.
No. No. I do not recommend a GoFundMe for him.
I don't think. First of all, I don't think they allow GoFundMe's for these. I know, like, if you have any legal things, they don't allow GoFundMe's for.
Oh, no?
This would qualify
Okay.
as that. Although I guess if you did it for his canteen instead of his legal troubles, then
right. Yeah, he does not deserve commissary from us.
He probably does not. I have a feeling that he's I hope anyway that the other his cellmates are appreciating him and that he's maybe he's getting some extra Newports at night or something.
Right.
But...
You did what?
Exactly. Like, if I were
made
going to go
a
to
hot
prison,
tub into a rolling boulder that was going to kill somebody?
Yeah. What are you in for? Well, I rigged my home to maximize the destruction of law enforcement.
You had a wheelchair set up to fire a shotgun blast?
That is, well, hats off to you, sir.
Yes, I mean,
can't say I support you.
But points for originality.
Points for originality.
Points for originality.
Points for the massive testicles you must have. I don't like to get gross, but let's be honest. And points to the nerve of saying, "Hey, I just need to get back to my house and get some stuff. I'll be right back."
Right. I'll be back in 2 weeks. I'll be back
2 weeks. That'll be a good time for me to get rid of my couch.
Jail in 2 weeks. But apparently he went back to jail. So I mean,
very satisfied.
He's honest.
I'm sure he twirled a cane walking in. I love it.
I wasn't there. I was in prison. I couldn't have done it.
Maybe you ought to look into the realtor. I heard he's a little shady.
He's shady realtor. He's one of them shady ones.
Wouldn't be the first shady realtor.
No,
would not be the first. You never know. Speaking of the FBI,
that's probably the best segue you've done.
I'm nailing segues. Speaking of the FBI, Matt, I don't know if you heard, but the FBI has announced that their investigation of Brett Kavanaugh is going to be complete Wednesday, possibly even tonight.
Possibly
may already
tonight.
Actually be
complete.
complete.
Maybe done at the time that we are airing this.
Yep, as of airtime.
If we had assistance, which we could only get if people would donate to us through Patreon. if we had assistants, they could be looking this up for us at this moment. And
If this actually thing, I could technically look it up.
I mean, you could, but it'd be better if we had assistants.
Yes, because I'm sort of the assistant.
Yeah. So when we did our show last Tuesday, there was a question on whether or not Christine Ford was going to show up to Thursday's hearing.
Right.
And boy, did she.
She sure did.
She sure did. She showed up and she gave a very powerful testimony. I'm not going to lie. It was a very powerful testimony that in the end, I think left many people. Well, it's divided basically straight down party lines. People on the right say they've kind of changed their story a little bit. So I'll give the people on the right this. They've changed their story a little bit. It is no longer she's making this up. They're saying, I believe something happened to her, but I believe that she has supplemented Kavanaugh for the actual person.
Right.
So, all right. So, I mean, there was some give there by the right. The Democrats did not change their mind whatsoever. And Kavanaugh
no give on the Democrat side?
No, zero give on the Democrat side.
Interesting.
Actually, they did. They also threw on that they think he's a dirty alcoholic.
Oh yeah, and he starts bar fights. Yeah,
and he starts bar fights by throwing ice. By throwing ice. And
classic bar fight strategy.
That's right. Because when every bar fight I've been in, ice was my number one go-to move.
Yep.
But so she gave a very powerful testimony, and then Kavanaugh came out and gave a 45-minute opening speech that has divided the left and the right
country.
Yeah, it's divided the left and the right on whether or not he came off as a man fighting for his life or if he came off as
vindictive and angry and
sure.
Yeah.
I was gonna use a dirty word, and that was probably better.
Jerk face, right?
Jerk face. He came off like a jerk face. But so the questioning, I mean, Cory Booker also came off like the same type of jerk face.
Jerk face, exactly.
Also a hypocritical jerk face, since he wrote an article about when he was 15 he groped somebody. But
what was that? I caught a glimpse of that, and my first thought was that it was one of those fake news things, but then I kept seeing it. He wrote, was it like an admission or was it like a fanfic thing or like?
No, it was when he was in college or something like that. He wrote it many years ago, and he was talking about how when he was in high school he groped some girl at a party or something. And you know, that's apparently fine. Nobody's saying, hey, should we kick this guy out? Should we look 36 years into his past, which I think would have made him 6? I don't know how old Cory Booker is. I don't.
However many years, yeah.
But yeah, Cory Booker kind of came off as a bit of a jerk face as well, in my personal opinion. I'm not washing Kavanaugh of it. Although personally, I watched the 45-minute opening statement that Kavanaugh gave, and it was the second best thing I had seen on TV all week.
Which is both a hats off to him and an indictment of television entertainment.
Right? No, that's true. In all
once.
fairness, it's an indictment of television entertainment, because the best thing I saw all week was the Lindsey Graham.
Oh yeah,
blasting,
losing his mind,
gosh darned mind on everyone in this hearing.
On those jerk faces.
On the opposite side of the aisle. Like Lindsey Graham finally. Like, I guess Donald Trump said, hey, Lindsey, remember when I gave out your phone number and completely took your testicles from you? You can have you can have those back. And the sudden shot of testosterone that shot through his body, he was like, oh my God. And he just went off. Like
he went all the way off. And I mean, again, there's some political theater there, because
100%.
This is a guy that in fact, he mentioned it, that he voted for Kagan and Sotomayor, the two Obama Supreme Court justices, and he's had enough. Lindsey has had enough.
Yeah. When you see Kagan and Sotomayor, tell him I said hi, because I voted for them. I didn't do this. I didn't do this.
And so the question
sounding like Frank Underwood, but
right, exactly.
not as underage rapey.
there were shades of Frank Underwood there.
Yeah.
The real question here, Brett Kavanaugh is being. I mean, I hate to bury the lead here, or I guess reverse of bury. I hate to dig up the lead for everyone. Brett Kavanaugh is going to be confirmed, barring some other major development as an actual evidence.
And
or
probably Saturday.
He's going to. I would be shocked if he's not confirmed. Here's the real question moving forward: are we now going to deal with a hyper-partisan, super masculine Lindsey Graham from now on? Because I hope so.
I really kind of hope so, because
Really?
again, most entertaining thing I saw on TV this week, and I mean I watch a lot of TV, so
I just picture if on every issue Lindsey Graham is screaming at the left. Just I saw a thing that someone, it was like a Tumblr post or something, where someone was like, Lindsey Graham was showing toxic masculinity, and I'm like, you know what? Good for you, Lindsey.
Good for you, Lindsey.
If Lindsey Graham and any form of masculinity can be unironically mentioned in the same sentence, that's a good on Lindsey.
That's a good on Lindsey.
And if he can become hyper partisan just for my personal entertainment, I will be here for that all day long. I might even vote for his reelection if it were close, just to make sure that he's screaming at everyone.
Right. I mean, God, that was just so much. Seriously. And again, I did feel for Christine Ford during the first 7 hours of this 14-hour, 18-hour day.
Right.
Whatever it was. I felt for her, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm not 100% correct on this.
Right.
But there's still too many vague parts of her story that I was like, I can't buy it. But obviously, she was traumatized by something.
Yeah, something. I believe something happened. Now, I know they said that Brett Kavanaugh his name was never mentioned in the couples therapy thing where she had in 2012. Now, and I haven't confirmed this, but she didn't release it to she didn't release it to Congress, these notes, but she did release it to the news. And I think also to the FBI, probably because he's required to.
Right.
So, I don't know if that's true or not, but supposedly in the notes, his name's never actually mentioned. Okay. So it's very plausible. It's plausible that he did it. That's possible. It's possible that he didn't do it and that she's remembering something else. It's possible that she's making this entire thing up entirely for political reasons.
Right.
I really don't know. But she definitely came off to me like someone that something happened to her, like this or something similar to it happened, and she has possibly over time convinced herself that it was him. That's a possibility. I don't really know. I've been pushed by a few people to really weigh in on it, on what I think, and I'm like, I don't want him to be a justice regardless,
right,
whether he raped anyone or not, because I don't want anyone to be a justice, but if I was going to have a justice, it wouldn't be someone who is perfectly fine with, unwarranted searches and seizures and data collection banks and all of this stuff. The government, just using our personal information as it sees fit, sort of the most open-ended interpretation of the habeas corpus clause ever. So I for that reason, I'm not a fan of his. The question of whether he did this or not is secondary to me. What's more important, besides whether Lindsey Graham becomes the hyperpartisan masculine male of my dreams, is and we talked about this for several episodes in a row, unfortunately now.
And I mean, granted, 13 episodes. This is your 13th episode, correct?
Of my show, yeah.
Of your show. Okay, well, your 13th episode coming out tomorrow, and then you've done, 4 with me? So 17?
Yeah, it's the 17th episode.
Yeah, at one point,
this is my 16th, and that'll be my, however you want to say that. Yes.
At one point, we joked about changing this to fake news in Russia, and that was what the podcast was going to be called, because that's all we ever talked about. So, I mean,
you and Mohammed?
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
Right, fake news in Russia.
Join us tonight on Fake News in Russia.
Right.
Or
tonight,
you
just go through long
stretches.
Next school shooting, we'll talk about which God, I hope there isn't one, but
I hope there's never
I
one,
hope
but if
there's
there
never
is,
one,
we'll
but there
probably
is.
end up talking about that quite a bit.
for probably a month, based on
Unfortunately.
history.
But my concern with this, when it comes to the whole rape allegation thing, is, and I've talked about this before, the idea that someone can be, a famous actor or a famous, industrialist applying for, or even at a local level. I'm applying for a job at, let's say I'm, applying for a job, a nice paying job somewhere, and someone who doesn't like me decides to say, well, he raped me, or, have his wife say he raped me. And absent any proof, and with pretty much everyone saying, I don't have any knowledge of that happening. And maybe there are people who come out and like, yeah, he's a jerk, like what's happening with Kavanaugh. Yeah, he drinks and maybe he started this fight. But so far as I know, no one besides the actual accusers have said, yeah, that totally happened, or I remember hearing about that.
Right.
Absent that, I could end up not getting that job because the business is like,
I don't want to take the shot. I'm not risking it.
Right, exactly. I don't want to risk
Right.
that this could even be. And I guess that's always been the case. I mean, I guess that's probably happened a lot, and, it's just being talked about now. But it's just, and it's not limited to men. People keep saying, oh, Trump today or yesterday said, this is a dangerous time for young men or something like that. This isn't just men. It might just be men now,
Was
or
that
maybe
Trump
heavily
or
on
Trump
men.
Jr.?
What's that?
Was that Trump or Trump Jr.?
Oh, it might have been Trump Jr.
I think because I thought I read that Trump Jr. said that today, but I mean I could be wrong.
You may very well be right.
Yeah.
A Trump.
A Trump,
One of the
probably named
Trumps.
Donald.
Yeah, a Donald Trump
One of them.
of some kind said that it was dangerous for young men. I don't think it's limited to men. Maybe it is now. I think you can eventually, first of all, don't assume my gender. And you could end up in a situation where people are lobbing rape accusations. And if
Just
we've
back and forth like tennis.
you raped me. No, you raped me. And and again, maybe this has always been the case and I was naive, but that's what scares me. I don't care, if every politician wants to be accused of rape or gets accused of rape and it derails them and the government collapses because no one wants to be accused of rape. Awesome.
Right.
I'm not concerned about Kavanaugh at all. Other than really, I am. I don't want him. If this is why he ends up not being confirmed, okay. It's sad that it wasn't because he thinks that we should all be able to be wiretapped for no reason.
Right.
That didn't seem to bother anyone, but but so that's what worries me about this, and it also worries me that it will never end.
Last week I said there was one more topic I wanted to talk about, and it just hit me right now.
Okay.
I wonder if he wrote the Quiet Skies manual.
I don't know what that is.
The video that I sent you last week, and I said this is the one thing that I wanted to talk about the TSA. TSA and the air marshals are doing this new program.
Oh yeah.
In airports called Quiet Skies is what I believe it's called.
Right.
I totally forgot that I wanted to talk about that until you were talking about this, and they have this new
sexual molestation.
Sexual, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Weird. I think the TSA, sexual molestation, TSA, kind of hand in hand. Well, that's where they put you, and
Right.
And so they have this program called Quiet Skies, and they've come up with a list, and if you commit certain aspects of this list, they will probably figure out who you are based on facial recognition, and then put extra air marshals on your flight and your flight back from wherever it is that you went, just to kind of make sure they'll check your flying habits, see where you've been, all this kind of stuff. And the list was completely freaking arbitrary. I believe if you look on your computer too much, if you use your cell phone.
Oh, this is when you're there?
Yeah,
if you
in the
display
airport.
these traits?
In the airport.
If you look at your computer a lot?
Or use your cell phone.
At an airport?
If you go to the bathroom often. And this one gets me a lot. If you look in the mirror often. And there are two more, and I don't remember what those two are.
I'm looking in a mirror right now. I'm constantly looking in the
I
mirror.
always look in a mirror.
I spend a lot of time.
When I
looking
was
in the mirror.
working in Alaska, they made fun of me because for anybody who doesn't know, when I was in Alaska, I was working at this jewelry shop, and they've got those mirrors everywhere.
Right.
I set them up so when I would stand at this one spot, I could see myself in like 9 different places.
Which is what I would have done.
Right. No, absolutely. And like people made fun of me, but then by the end, they were just kind of helping me set it up because it gave us something to do. And so
that would get you flagged by TSA.
I know. Like, I'm getting flagged by TSA. I'm constantly on my phone. If I'm not on my phone, I'm probably on my laptop or my tablet. I go to the bathroom often because it's really the only place you can vape in an airport. And I look in mirrors a lot. Like, I reach so many. Like, I wonder how many air marshals have come onto my flight and been like, man, this guy
Sometimes the whole flight has just been you and air marshals.
This guy just goes places and drinks dirty water. Like, why are we following him everywhere?
Yeah, and this is that sort of government busy work that they apply to everything. In their purported desire to do a thing, whether it's to educate people or keep people safe or provide healthcare or whatever, because the real goal of government is to create government positions and ensure that they continue forever and perpetuate more government jobs and organizations.
Right.
What ends up happening, the structure, the nature of the government structure is that you just have these administrators and bureaucrats who just come up with make busy work because TSA, there's many different acronyms, but one of my favorite for TSA is thousands standing around. And it is like they're just standing there and asking for your passport. And so, this whole, we got to have 2 air marshals for anyone that's checking their computer or checking their phone or using the bathroom a lot. I'm a nervous flyer. I'm not a big fan of flying like I used to be. First of all, I'm usually running late when I am flying. So, it's just, I probably do use the bathroom a lot. And
I 100% know I do use the bathroom a lot, but that's because I vape often.
Right, because you vape, right.
And you're not coming in that stall to find out. Like, I know that.
Well, they see smoke coming from it. They're like, it's a bomb. I check my phone. The only time I'm not checking my phone is when I'm on this show or my show.
Yeah, me too.
I'm on a computer.
Yeah, if
which
I'm
would
not
also
doing...
get me flagged.
Right. If I'm exactly, but I'm still on a computer, so I'm still getting flagged. Yeah, the only time I'm not probably looking at my phone, which has been a complaint of pretty much every ex-girlfriend I've had over the last since smartphones came out,
and my wife.
Right. But like the only time I'm not checking my phone, literally, I'm sleeping, I'm swimming, or I'm doing the show in which I'm staring at a computer.
And if you,
if I go to the movies, I don't check my phone.
No,
but if I'm watching the same movie at home for the first time, I'm on my phone the entire time.
Well, and I'm the same way. And if you tried to swim or sleep at the airport, they'd probably tag you there too.
It depends on how long you've been delayed, I think, for the sleeping.
Who knows?
You're right. You're right. It's valid. Me looking.
Yeah, you never know.
Picking up my cell phone and doing this obviously means that I'm a terrorist.
Al Qaeda,
right?
Obviously. You couldn't possibly just be checking your phone before a flight to let someone know your flight's about to take off.
Right.
You're definitely ISIS. That's been established.
100%, obviously.
Absolutely.
So
speaking of Canada, which is a place that people might fly to. So, folks, President Donald Trump struck a trade deal with, I wrote the U.S. and Canada, it's actually Mexico and Canada, which he calls the biggest trade deal ever. May or may not be. That's very possibly. It's basically a renegotiation of NAFTA. It's being called the USMCA. I haven't had time to pour through all of it. I assume it's terrible because that's just been my go-to with government stuff in general, is that it's worse than whatever it replaced. But we don't know. We don't know that. What I do know is these 2 things. Number one, it opened Canada's market up to U.S. dairy farms, which I guess that wasn't the case before.
Yeah, no, okay, so that was actually one of the biggest contentions.
Which is weird because from what I read, it was in terms of its percentage of the value of it, it was relatively small. But I guess dairy farmers are a very contentious issue, and they're a very powerful lobby specifically in Quebec, which is why that happening led to Quebec last night. They elected for the first time in I think 30 something years, the Liberals, the Liberal government is no longer, the Liberal Party is no longer in charge of the Quebec provincial government. They elected the CAQ, QAC. I don't know. They elected a center-right party, basically for protectionist reasons. They don't like this trade deal. They're sick of the Trudeau's immigration plans. And so they elected the government. So that's already backfired for Trudeau. Man, go ahead.
I was going to say, because this loss of the left losing Quebec, this is a huge hit to Trudeau.
It's really a big deal politically.
Because that's where he's from, right? I believe he's from Quebec.
His dad is.
Okay.
Pierre Trudeau is definitely French. I'm not sure. He may be as well.
I think he's. I think I read today that his home is Quebec.
I know his father's is. So his more than likely his.
Yeah. Anyway, I was about to say home province, and I was like, I don't think Quebec's a province. It's a city.
Yeah, this would be like the Republicans winning in not necessarily California,
San Francisco,
but like Minnesota or something like that, or I guess California. Actually, California is probably a good comparison because Quebec is is second only to Ontario in terms of its economic. So it would be like losing New York or California. Or say
San Francisco.
I don't know.
What's that? Mayor of San Francisco. If the mayor of San Francisco was ever,
yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's a very left wing province. It's a very there's not really a good comparison in the States because they actively try to be different from the rest of Canada in their culture and their language and everything else. That the government like tries to enforce Frenchness being But this party is still in that vein. They're still very francophone and all of that, francophile. But they're a center right party. Like this is a pretty big deal, especially after the Conservatives won in Ontario earlier this year in that election, which was like losing California.
Right.
So big trouble for Trudeau there. The other thing that this trade deal does. Is it enforces, so I think just with car parts manufacturing, it forces the U.S. minimum wage on Mexican plants, Mexican workers, which they're still making less than they would in the U.S., but that's really a big deal because they're not making $7.25 an hour, and I believe it's just for that industry, but the reality is the only reason they brought those jobs there in the first place is because they could pay them less. So in my mind, all this is going to do is just make them move the plants to
Detroit,
China, or wherever.
China or wherever. I mean, so if they're paying them $7.75, $7.25, I don't know what the federal minimum wage is. If they're paying them $7.25, $7.70 or whatever, they're still paying them less. But that's a ton of money to the Mexican worker.
Right.
I've got an anecdote, so I don't know if this is like a standard across the board thing, but one of my buddies was down in Mexico and he tipped his waitress like $20 because he was just, I think it was, he didn't understand the numbers. And he was just like, how much do I pay? All right, well, here, take that. I don't know. But he tipped her $20, and then he came in the next day, and the owner started yelling at him. And he was like, "What? What did I do?" And he goes, "You tipped too much." And he's like, "What? I didn't. I mean, it's a tip." And he goes, "No, she quit. She gone. She has no money.
She
now.
can retire now."
Yeah. And I was like, "Whoa, what?" Like apparently he's just like, no, she just after they get that much money, they're out. Like because they'll just go get a different job after they run out.
That's well, I was gonna say I don't believe the exchange rate is quite where she
Right.
can live off of that forever, but
But it's probably enough to go party for a week or something.
that's the thing. It's probably enough to have a rager for a
Right.
fortnight.
Have a nice bender.
Yeah, have a nice roll and romp in the hay with the folks. Yeah, this thing with the minimum wage thing. I mean,
I wonder if that's going to create people quitting the jobs and then constantly having turnover.
it's constant turnover. More than likely, first of all, in any of these things, there are always exceptions. And what's going to happen is the politically connected companies are going to find their way to get their exemptions. And if they don't, they'll just move somewhere else.
Right.
It may not be immediate, but they may not move those plants, but they're not moving plants from where they're paying $70 an hour to move it to somewhere where they're paying $7 an hour if they can move it to somewhere where they can pay them $1 an hour. And even if the shipping costs to bring it back here are a little bit higher,
They're still making out.
They're still making out.
Yeah.
And you know, the full conclusion, if you go, well, no, we'll put tariffs on them, then all that happens is you just made their competitors stronger. So I mean, there's not a good protectionism doesn't work.
No, protectionism is awful.
Yeah, it's you're trying to catch a falling knife. You're trying to subvert the market to what you want it to do, even if it doesn't make economic sense. And this minimum wage thing is minimum wage laws don't work here. Maybe this is Trump's secret plan to contribute to unemployment in Mexico by forcing them into minimum wage. But you know, it's a stupid thing. I don't know enough about the deal to say whether I think it's good or bad. I just suspect it isn't good because that's how I feel about most stuff that comes out of government.
Yeah, I agree. I knew that it had been signed. The last few days have been crazy busy for me, so I was like, well, I know we're going to focus on Kavanaugh a lot, so I'm just going to read up on that. And then
I don't know. I put it this way: if Trump, Trudeau, and the guy that just got elected in what's his name? Not Lopez Obrador. The guy that just got elected in Mexico, who they said is like the left-wing Mexican version of Trump. If those three were happy with this, then I can almost guarantee it's a terrible deal for everyone involved.
Speaking of Putin, he released a calendar. He released a calendar today
Of himself,
and it's him in like one is like him in the standard Russian, whatever that hat's called, and like doing the over the shoulder kind of look. Where kind of what was that?
Like the GQ look.
Like the GQ look, but what was it? Fish lips or whatever it was that girls always do, kissy.
Oh, he's
fish?
doing duck lips.
Duck lips. That's it. Kind of a little bit, not a lot. There's another. Obviously, there's one with him riding a horse because, of course, there's one. With
Of course.
There's one with him snuggling.
That's a standard Putin shot.
There's one with him snuggling like it's either a tiger or a leopard. There's a shirtless one with him in a fish. There's one with him shooting like he's got a gun. Like he's got the sound protective hearing on, and he's got a gun like looking like James Bond with sound protective hearing. A bald Russian James Bond. With sound protective
in the 60s,
hearing. Yeah, in the 60s, right. Go find it. Like seriously, go find it.
I was gonna say I'm gonna have to look for this.
If we had an assistant who did overlays, they would then be showing these to you.
Showing these pictures.
Right,
We're working on the overlays, folks.
We're working on overlays. I know how to do them. It's just it's a lot of work, and most of our show is completely improvised, so we have no idea where it's going.
We talk about this show for about 10 minutes before we go live. I shouldn't say that. We talk about it randomly throughout the week. But for the most part, the actual planning, oh my gosh, these pictures.
Yeah. my favorite one, I think, is probably the one with him in the hat doing the over-the-shoulder kind of thing with the duck lips, the Russian duck lips.
This is...
And the one after that is probably the one with him and the leopard or the tiger or whatever that is.
Yeah, I see the leopard one. I see the one with him holding the gun.
If you're
that's from the 2018 calendar. There's apparently a calendar every year.
Oh, good for him.
Oh, and him in a hot tub.
That's the other one. I couldn't remember that one. Yeah.
Let's talk about the sadness of a country where their main sex symbol is a boomer. Was he a boomer? I guess he's a little younger than a boomer, but is
He's
aging
right in there.
former KGB agent who rules the country with an iron fist, and is not. I'm not homosexual, so I couldn't tell you. I would. I can't imagine this is what I'd go for.
I have heard I have heard women say they find him to be very sexy.
Really?
Yeah,
But
and I think
because
it's
of his look or because of his power.
I think it's the manliness aspect of him. Like, you know, he wrestled a bear or whatever that story is.
Right.
And then, you know, he goes horseback riding and fishing and all that kind of stuff. So, like, I think they kind of see that, and he's got massive power. So I think that's kind of.
I think the massive power helps.
Yeah, I think that all of those kind of put together do something. But
These photos are just
they're great.
everything
so
I expected
good.
them to be and more.
Yeah. And if we had more money to do this show, we'd be able to show you these things.
Soon, coming soon.
Coming
By
very
2020,
soon.
we will have the Putin calendar on here, folks.
Man, my assistant definitely would have turned off my notifications on my computer. That would have been just wonderful of her.
Even better, yeah.
I know.
So that's always fun. Another speaking of despotic tyrants, Trump apparently, and I didn't get all the details, but he said he was in one of his MAGA rallies was talking about how Kim Jong-un showed a lot of love for him and wrote him beautiful letters.
And yeah, they fell in love.
Yeah, it was there was a mild homoerotic sense to the whole thing.
Yes.
But I don't know the details of it, but I just find that funny. The idea of Donald Trump telling a raging crowd of center-right supporters about how great Kim Jong-un is and how he gets beautiful letters from a communist dictator, and them presumably cheering when he says this.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, they were, like, I saw the video of this and they were cheering, and I was
They
like,
love it. It doesn't matter what he says.
no, it does not matter what he says.
It doesn't matter. Say what you want about Donald Trump, and you will. But I have not seen in modern American politics someone who has been able to better create and control a cult of personality than him. Barack Obama.
He was good,
Barack Obama was good.
but he's no Trump.
No Donald Trump, because Barack Obama was like this specifically for left-leaning black people and black people in general, not all black people, but speaking about black people in aggregate. But it wasn't him, it was what he represented. He didn't create that. It was the fact that he was the first black president, right, and that he was, you know, his image, that he was a family man and he was a devoted, faithful husband and his children, and it was the whole image. And yes, he definitely helped continue that, but he didn't create that. Donald Trump has created from nothingness an entire cult of personality.
Right.
And it just keeps getting stronger.
It's incredible to watch.
It's equal parts horrifying and fascinating, because so far it hasn't resulted in genocide or, you know, any kind of, you know,
right.
But it could. If he wanted it
if
to.
If he wanted it to, it definitely could, but it hasn't yet. But
so you're at the mercy of Donald Trump.
Yeah, Donald Trump is now in charge of making sure that we don't fall into a dictatorship that starts committing genocide across this world.
It's entirely up to him.
Right.
And I have to say, I'm actually not any more or less scared than I would be if it were a regular. In fact, if anything, I'm probably slightly less scared, because he hasn't convinced himself that he's doing, you know, a lot of politicians, by the time they're at his position, they are so jaded at the point of, like, you know, I'm doing this for the right reason, but they're so disconnected. Donald Trump is essentially doing this as a massive ego stroke.
Oh, yeah.
That will last however long it's allowed to last.
I want to be the best president, so I'm going to keep doing this until I'm the best president.
Right, exactly. And that was a much better Trump than I'm able to do.
Thank you.
Mostly because I don't try. But so congratulations on that. But
that wasn't my first try, but I mean,
it was not bad.
I don't work on it.
I'm watching it in the replay, and even the face, you had it down. You did. It was good. It was solid.
Appreciate
it. It's scary. It's definitely scary, but it is fascinating to watch and the left doesn't want to admit this, to watch an increasing number of people fall completely in line with whatever Donald Trump does, irrespective of any kind of political beliefs or moral beliefs or whatever. They're so bought into the entire concept of everything Donald Trump does is winning,
is good,
that it's working for him. So what what am I going to say about it?
And another thing that I'm going to bring up here that wasn't on our list, one of his recent cult members spoke his praises very highly this past weekend on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, yes.
Good old Kanye.
Good old Kanye West.
Kanye West.
The man who watched the Netflix documentary 13th and took a really weird lesson from it. Took an odd... So for those who don't know, there is this, and I tend to be sympathetic to it, but there are people that have watched 13th, which is this documentary on Netflix about how their assertion is that the United States government replaced African-American chattel slavery with African-American prison pipeline slavery, which they did. And in the 13th Amendment, it says, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically that, no one can enslave someone else unless it's the government doing it as, repayment for, punishment for a crime. And what that loophole has done is it has allowed, an unsettlingly large number of made in America stuff is made in prisons. We think license plates, that's the scratching the tip of the iceberg of what's made.
If I had to bet, my wallet was probably made.
If it says made in America, prison labor was probably involved. And black people make up a disproportionately high number of people in the prison,
right?
In prison for a myriad of reasons, and most of which are related to targeting of them. Kanye West heard that and said, let's get rid of the 13th Amendment.
Yep.
With zero context. I knew what he was saying.
I knew what he was saying.
I knew exactly what he was saying. I know Kanye very, very well, and
Not
I knew exactly what he was
well.
saying. Right, exactly. I know him very well. I knew what he was saying. I also knew what people just took from what he said.
Yep.
And because he's wearing a MAGA hat and talking about repealing the amendment that ended slavery.
Yeah.
Chattel slavery.
Chattel slavery. Yeah. He went on. I don't know how long that rant was. I've only seen clips of this rant.
Right.
SNL has said that they will never air it again. He cursed like 5 times. He said,
of course.
Yeah, he dropped the F-bomb 5 times. And then obviously he took all the flack that you're going to take for this. But he spent, I'm going to guess it was probably 3-4 minutes defending Donald Trump and defending Donald Trump's policies to SNL. To the
SNL viewers,
audience of Saturday Night Live.
Right. Live.
They couldn't stop it. They've never cut anybody off.
Right. They just don't let them. They just don't ever air it again. Like Andrew Dice Clay and who's the other one that they did that to?
She ripped up the picture of the Pope. Sinead
yeah,
O'Connor.
that was during. Yeah, I was thinking specifically monologues, but yeah, Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah. Louis C.K.
Louis C.K. Yes.
Yeah.
Louis C.K. They cut him off.
Yeah. He's never allowed back.
Yeah, he's never even allowed back, and neither is Andrew Dice Clay.
Right. Sinead O'Connor wasn't allowed back. Bono's not allowed back.
Is he? What did he do?
He dropped the F-bomb back
when that was a thing.
Back when that was something that
you couldn't do that. Yeah.
Some other. I know a couple other people aren't allowed back, but I can't think of who they are.
I bet they'll allow Kanye back because you sort of have to.
You kind of have to let Kanye back.
You kind of have to.
Yeah,
But
he is unfortunately a force that has to be reckoned with. Like I don't listen to his music. I don't honestly know if it's any good.
So I'm the resident hip hop connoisseur of the Muddied Waters of Freedom. He's a very, very talented artist. I'm not as big of a fan of his new stuff, but I'm not as big of a fan of new rap in general. So it's probably just me. But he is especially of his era when he was like new and hot. He was the most gifted artist, or definitely one of the most, if not the most, of like the early and mid 2000s.
What-
And so he's incredibly, incredibly talented. You can never take that away from him. It has been equally fun to watch. I like watching any person who bucks the standard, center left progressive identity politics narrative in general, even if they say other stuff I disagree with. I just like when people think for themselves and say something that isn't what every other person is pretending is a brave thing to say on television. So that I appreciate. But it's also been entertaining because I do think he's losing his mind.
Right. I do know that he and Paul McCartney worked together at one time.
Right.
They did something together, some sort of collab. And
Right.
Paul McCartney afterwards said, that was the most like working with John Lennon since I stopped working with John Lennon.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go.
But
yeah,
Paul McCartney also hated John Lennon at the end. So I didn't really know where he was going with it. So
it may have been a begrudging, a backhanded compliment.
Right. It could have been but I don't think so. I think he actually enjoyed. I thought he took it as. I thought he was saying Kanye is a musical genius.
Yeah, he is, and he's like I said, I'm not a huge fan of his newer stuff, but I don't like trap music and I don't like newer rap in general. So it's not him, it's me. He's incredibly, incredibly talented, and so which is why anyone's even paying attention to him. If Little Yachty or something like that was saying this stuff, it would be like a TMZ, it'd be on TMZ, but it wouldn't be getting the attention.
Right.
You wouldn't see like 30s and 40s year old black people lamenting what is happening.
Right.
They just shrug and move on because Kanye West has been like instrumental in the world of hip hop and in larger American black culture for almost 20 years now, like 15 solid years. So it's a big deal that he is like an avid Trump supporter who like doesn't miss an opportunity to speak about it.
This is the guy who went on live TV after Katrina and said, George Bush don't care about black people.
Right.
And
there's been an evolution.
Yeah. And now he is going on live TV talking about we need to support Trump.
Donald Trump.
What? Who are you?
Now, Donald Trump also doesn't like George Bush.
That's valid.
So
I'll give you that.
That might have been, they may have bonded over their shared hatred of George Bush.
I'll give you
and
that.
that has now turned into. So speaking of ricin. So packages of ricin were sent to. Ricin is a deadly poison that comes from castor beans. If you've seen
Breaking Bad, you probably know what ricin is.
Hopefully, if you don't know now, you know. It's not good. Don't.
It will.
Don't ingest.
It will
ricin.
kill people.
It will and has killed people. So packages of ricin were sent to Secretary of Defense General James Mad Dog Mattis, and also to Chief of Naval Operations Admiral John No Nickname Richardson, and additionally, two people. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Are you talking about the Texas?
Yes. So in Ted Cruz, speaking of Texas, some powdery substances were sent in a package that was sent to Senator Ted Cruz's Houston campaign office, and two people were taken to the hospital after that because they were exposed to it. I believe that the newest update was that came back. They came back as not as negative for any exposure to whatever they checked for. I don't know if the package has also been found negative.
Right.
I'm going to let you give your opinion on this first.
So, we have a group of people in this country.
Right.
I'm not going to name which group this is, but they chastise others for not being tolerant, for not being caring, for not being accepting of other people's ideals and cultures. And
right.
If you are one of the people that they don't believe are accepting of these cultures, or just not a good person in general, they choose to attempt to murder you, to try to get you to see their side of everything. And personally, I don't find that to be a very tolerant or peaceful way to go about things.
Not when ricin's involved.
No, when for anybody who hasn't seen Breaking Bad, hit mute for a minute. If you have seen Breaking Bad, you'll understand. When he used ricin on that little boy, it made me so angry at Walt. And since then, anytime I hear rice, I get mad at Walt. And any rice, it doesn't matter. You can follow it with pilaf, and I'm still like, Walt, I can't believe you did that. And when I read that today, somebody's been watching way too much Breaking Bad. And two,
if rice makes you angry, then there's some deeper issues there.
No, just because of ricin. Like you can
No,
get pilaf.
I get it.
But so I read that today, and I had to read it like 4 times, and I was like, all right, I can't be reading this right. Somebody went Breaking Bad on the Pentagon
in two different, in the Department of Defense and in the Naval Special, whatever I just said.
Wait, okay, so that was 2 different people that did that?
It was 2 different people. Well, no, there's 2 different packages.
Okay.
Presumably, this was not coincidental. It came from the same organization or whatever entity. But it was sent. One was sent to James Mattis. This was actually personally mailed, personally addressed to these 2 people, to James Mattis and to Admiral John Richardson, who heads up Chief of Naval. He's the Chief of Naval Operations. So I guess he's the head Navy person. Sure. I assume that's what it sounds like. There's probably an Air Force joke in there somewhere, but maybe this is a disgruntled someone who isn't in the Navy or Marines, or it was Navy the same person.
God, I'm gonna make so many people mad. Navy and Marines, same thing. It really doesn't matter.
I didn't say that. I'll talk about dissolving the state, but I'm not gonna get into the intra branch.
The Marines are a department of the Navy. That's they're a department of the Navy. So they're it's all the same.
The top most elite Navy elite Marines are Navy SEALs. Yeah. They become Navy SEAls. That I know from watching G.I. Jane. I learned that in G.I. Jane. But yeah, so I agree with what you said. Tolerance and love and understanding, unless you disagree with me in the slightest, and then you have to die.
And then you have to die.
And this isn't not just on government officials. They're like that on everyone. They in fact often it's the government they want to use as their weapon against private citizens who
disagree with them on anything.
Who disagree with them, who are don't want to make a cake for a gay wedding, or who don't want to, or who don't agree with the transgender science or transgender theory or whatever it's called.
They may even host a very popular podcast and sit out in front of schools asking people to change their minds, and people are still
he was willing to talk about it, and they were losing it. Yeah,
right. And people still threaten him and say we need to blow up his truck. And,
right. Oh yeah, no, I saw that. I saw that. So yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of that, and it's very hypocritical and fun to watch.
And I'm not going to say definitely, but I can honestly say that there probably are people on the right who say these things about the Young Turks, probably. But
I'm sure, yeah, I'm 100%.
Sure. But to the best of my knowledge, there has never been an active investigation into somebody threatening the lives of Cenk.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I remember.
I don't watch the Young Turks, so.
Yeah, it might happen a lot. I don't know, but I know there was there were some people that had threatened Obama that it turned out that they were against Obamacare or whatever. So I mean, it happens. It happens. I mean, you're talking about tens of millions of people. You're gonna have bad actors in all those situations. But there's definitely a prevalent thought process in the left that we have to force our tolerant ways on the rest of the world, and so attacking the government,
which is always a good idea. Always a good idea.
I didn't say that.
I hope people read sarcasm.
I hope
in today's world, possibly not though.
When he said it was sarcasm. What do I want to say? What am I comfortable saying? Not that. that not that part. It is illegal.
It is illegal to attack. Well, it's illegal to do that to anybody, much less the government.
It's illegal to do it to anyone. It is definitely illegal.
It is doubly illegal to do that to the government.
It is in many ways. It is like if you were to booby trap your home in Oregon. It's in that same family as sending. I don't encourage people to do illegal things because that's against the law. Is where I want to go with that. The other thing I want to say is that it is not out of the realm of possibility that Ted Cruz did this, and I'm going to tell you why. There's been some speculation.
Oh my God! I was like, he's not going to go there.
Oh no, I'm definitely going to. There's been some speculation that Ted Cruz is in fact the Zodiac killer, and
I mean, despite the mounting evidence against it, there's some
I haven't really looked into the evidence. I just really liked the headline, and I want it to be true. It's one of those too good to check things.
Right.
So there was some speculation.
On the Onion.
Matt is telling us that there's evidence that that's not that's not the case. But I'll let you decide, America. We do know that his dad has been accused of killing JFK.
Yep, that's also true.
That's also true.
That's also true.
There is some question about like how old he would have been when that happened, but here's the point.
Right. That's where everything gets real murky.
It gets murky when you get into the math part of it. But here's my point, guys.
As if time isn't linear.
There are a lot of theories about time and space, and I just want to say that in the era of allegations being taken at face value, if there's any allegation I'd like to take at face value, it's these ones. And I'm not saying that he did it. What I'm saying is that
he's never denied it.
He does not deny it. And it's awful suspicious that 3 packages were sent. And the one that went to his office
was
apparently didn't have any.
Yeah, it was nothing.
That's all I'm saying. The other thing I want to say is that it's not...
You can't be a suspect if you also get a package.
Exactly. That's, yes. Black eye pointing to forehead dot gif.
Yeah.
It would not be a waste of police resources, is all I'm saying, to leave a little avenue open to exploring what Senator Cruz may or may not have done with chemical weapons is all I'm trying to say. We know what he's voted for, huh? So, and that was way worse.
Much worse. Much worse.
It was way worse. A lot of people actually died for the stuff he voted for, but I eventually want to sell stuff on this show, and and I will. And so, what I want to say about attacking the government with chemical weapons is that it's illegal. And
I was gonna say any potential sponsors like going, what's he about to say?
It's illegal. It's illegal. And doing illegal things is against the law. And it's not. And if you do it, you could go to jail.
Yes.
And who wants to go to jail?
Nobody
all right.
wants to go to jail. No.
So that's what I want to say about that. And I hope.
Except for the guy that booby trapped his house, because he went right back.
He went right back. He was already in jail.
He was already in jail. Right. That's how much he enjoyed being in Arizona prisons.
That's how much he liked it, is that he did that. So, Brian Wolf says, I snorted vodka through my nose. Thank you, Spike, for mentioning the Zodiac. My goal here, if you're not snorting while watching this show, I don't want to say that.
I was like, wow. We're everybody cokeheads now.
Yeah, exactly. This is the moneyed coke of freedom.
Right.
Let's see this. I'm just going through our comments. John Liberty, one of my good friends. Bill Ayers attacked the government. Now he teaches at university. Exactly.
Right.
So that's a perfect example of what the. Go ahead.
No, I was a great example of what the left attacked the government for disagreements, and then he got a job.
Then he got a job as almost a government job at a public university. It is essentially it's a government paid job.
Timothy McVeigh
where
got the death sentence.
Right, exactly. Where he went on to create the mythos of Barack Obama.
Yes, he did.
Which then paved the way for Trumpism.
Yes, it did.
So thanks, Bill Ayers.
Technically,
Ayers.
Bill Ayers.
You created this.
Yeah, if you
in
track it back
special
long,
way.
technically you could probably go to whoever like Bill Ayers' mentor was.
Karl Marx. Thanks, Karl Marx.
But yeah, I mean, like you could go back like probably centuries on this one, but really, let's pinpoint Bill Ayers. Let's pinpoint.
I'm going to stop at Bill Ayers because you're right. We could be like, thanks, Kane, for But yeah, no,
for killing your brother.
Killing your brother and starting this whole thing. Speaking of Jeff Bezos, we were talking about minimum wage before, I wanted
to get
try
into
to
that.
shoehorn that in.
That would have been a good time to do that.
It would have, but this is way better.
This is why we
think.
should probably plan more than 10 minutes out.
I like doing it like this.
I do too.
So Amazon, the Amazon Corporation, announced today that they were raising. I don't know if it's in a phase thing or it's immediate, but they're raising their minimum wage to $15, and they're also calling for the federal government to raise it $15 for everyone else too.
Well,
how
of course.
brave!
How brave of them!
How brave of Amazon!
Brave
So
of
Amazon
Jeff Bezos
has been. Go ahead.
How brave of Jeff Bezos! Yeah, Amazon. So when I first read this, and Amazon's raising minimum wage to $15 an hour. I was like,
right,
good for Amazon. Good for you. You have the means to make this happen. You have the means to make it work.
Right.
And you've been getting a lot of true, not true backlash because of your minimum wage policies. So Jeff Bezos proving that he is no Lindsey Graham. He's more of a Jeff Flake, if you will. Taking a page out of Jeff Flake's book, he thanked Bernie Sanders in a later tweet and said, thanks, Bernie Sanders. And people are like, people say Bernie couldn't get stuff done. And Bernie's all excited. He's like, yay, Amazon broke. And,
right.
And Amazon can pay $15 an hour if they want to. They're a private business.
Right.
They should be able to do that if they want
Right.
to.
Right.
And should it be cheered? Sure. Why not? Don't care. Good for them.
Yeah, if a private company wants to pay their workers more and they can make it work financially, good. I'm not a fan of slave labor or poor labor. If they can make it work and awesome. Awesome. That's great.
Right. Good for you.
Yeah.
But there has been a series of backlashes. Well, not backlashes, but a series of bad events following this news.
Right.
People are now trying to scam people into these great Amazon jobs.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, no, actually, that was on the TV at the gym today, and I was like, I'm going to remember that for something. I don't know what, and look at that. But yeah, so they'll call you up, and they'll email you or call you up or something. And they'll go, yeah, Amazon is hiring because we just made this great new rule of higher wages, and we have new opportunities open in your area that you get to work from home, and you'll be doing telemarketing, and there's going to be a training, and it's a $200 training. There's a $200 training, and well, all we need from you is for you to sit through an interview, which they later give them. Then you'll give us the $200. And the person does. And then we'll just need your direct deposit.
That's so
information.
I can't stand scammers.
I can't either. And I'm not blaming this on Amazon by any means.
No, not at all. This is not Amazon's fault at all.
No, this is not Amazon's fault. But this has been happening. So if you are listening and you get a call from Amazon or an email from Amazon about great job, then whatever, it's probably not true.
Well, if they're telling you that you got to pay them for it, it's not true.
Right. If you haven't reached out to Amazon for a job, it's probably not true.
They're not looking in the phone book for you. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, if a private company wants to pay their people more, I'm all for it. Do it.
Good.
Absolutely do it.
Yeah.
But Amazon and Jeff Bezos should not be telling the government that everybody else should catch up, because there are companies that can't afford that.
Most companies can't afford it.
Right.
And this is... Go ahead.
A super majority of companies can't afford this.
Yeah. So this was I have to admit, a master stroke by Jeff Bezos, which I did not expect. He has been getting all sorts of flack.
He does
for being
master strokes, but
I never expect a master stroke. Do I want to keep going with that? No. I'm gonna let that one lie down.
Yeah, let that one
go of that
die where
master
it
stroke.
should.
So Jeff Bezos is, I believe, the richest man on earth, or he trades places as the richest man. He's one of the richest people on earth, and I believe is even the richest. He's often the richest.
I think he is the richest man.
Yeah, I think he is the richest.
I think it's 450 billion.
And as such, he's been scapegoated mostly by Bernie Sanders, but by other, and by Trump too. Really by just politicians in general for the fact that
Carlson. Tucker Carlson scapegoated him.
Yeah, anyway.
Which that one just blew my mind. I was like, what?
Yeah, I don't. That's and I, a lot of people on the right don't like him because he's left wing and because he funds the, I believe, Washington Post or he owns it, and so there's some bad blood there to begin with. But the bottom line is Jeff Bezos is sort of the perfect example of what you should be able to get in a market, which is a company that is just hyper supplying needs and meeting them in an insanely, dynamic way. I mean, you can buy stuff online and it's there tomorrow or the day after. Like it's for free if you pay $100 a year. I know. That was my response when I first heard it too. It was a master stroke, if you will. So he's been getting a bunch of flack about, he's the richest man in the world. See, I can't do a Trump, but I can do a Bernie. It's unacceptable that he's the richest man in the world and his workers are not. He's the richest man in the world because of what he's created. Right. None of those workers put up the capital. None of those workers put up the risk. We're talking about time preference here. That's a whole episode. We can go down that wormhole one day about time preference versus reward. They want their money now. They did their thing. They want their money now. Okay, great. He did nothing wrong, and his voluntary work agreements with his workers, there's nothing wrong with that either. Jeff Bezos figured out he's going to flip the script on everyone. He's going to raise his wage to the 15 that everyone's fighting for. And again, I don't know if it's immediate or phased, but that's his plan, is to raise it. It's something he can afford. It now makes him the good guy, because now only the most ridiculous of the left can say, 15 isn't enough for someone filling a box with stuff. Right. And so it was a genius move there. And then what he does, and this is where the real genius comes in, and I hate to admit it because this is how it works in a statist society. He then moved for government to impose this, like Matt just said, on everyone else, most of whom can't afford it. And not only can they not afford it, but it raises the barrier to entry for anyone who may want to enter into e-commerce in the future. That's why Jeff Bezos likes the Main Street Fairness Act, which forces all websites to charge whatever the state sales tax is, because he can do that easily. Right. Me starting my little e-commerce site, that just made it considerably harder for me to do that. And so...
Wait a minute, so government regulations help out the big companies? That's weird.
Wonder of wonders.
Weird.
It's almost like wealth inequality rises as the government grows.
Aren't they supposed to fight against regulation so they can continue ruling the world and stuff? No.
I know. I was as shocked as you were. I was just as shocked as you were.
I know. Bizarre. Why do you think Comcast and Xfinity or whatever, Time Warner, we're all fighting for
net neutrality? I know.
Thank you. I was like, that thing.
No, the Title IX or Title III or whatever they called it, net neutrality, was another perfect example. Hey, let's virtue signal while simultaneously making sure that we never have to compete with anyone else except each other
for each other ever again.
And so that's what Bezos is doing here. He's getting the flack off of him. He's getting the heat off of him. He's getting and not just getting the heat off of him, but now they're going to praise him. And then he's also going to harm all of his competitors at the same time. And it's genius. And he's from he's able to now go to Washington, which I'm sure he will. I mean, Mr. Bezos goes to Washington, where the left, their newfound love for Jeff Bezos, and say, I did it, and now I'm calling on you to have everyone else do it, and it's not going to hurt me because I've already done it. And I already know what he's going to say. Yeah. It's very, very smart. It's what any PR person would have recommended, and it is bad for everyone else. It's bad for the economy as a whole.
And it's not just bad. It's not just bad for other businesses like his. It's right. It is bad across the board for companies of all kinds.
Right. Which because even if you're not competing with him,
right,
you've now got a janitor for $15 an hour, and I can guarantee you he's going to do everything he can to automate because he can also afford that.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, 100%. He can afford to create a robotics company that does nothing but automate his own force to save money. So his labor costs end up being the same because he has fewer employees and they're making $15 an hour.
With probably
if I start a business,
mistakes.
I can't afford that. So,
I mean, he's already tried to automate. Like he was doing drone delivery, like getting rid of the driver's section of the entire thing. I mean, if he goes and he's like, yeah, $15 an hour, then it won't get passed from this Congress and this president. It won't get passed. There's no way. But if he somehow succeeds in that, now he has not. Let's say the federal minimum wage is $7.50. I don't know.
It's $7.25 an hour.
Is it $7.25?
Yeah,
they have not changed that in a really long time.
It's been over a decade. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember there was a time when I hit some hard times that I was back on minimum wage for a little bit just so I could buy food.
And it was $7.25 an hour back then. Yeah.
Food, beer, so it's $7.25. So it's more than doubling it. That means that the people that are the absolute worst at their jobs are now going to be losing those jobs because they aren't worth keeping on for $15 an hour, and they're going to get replaced with kiosks, or the people who are at the lower end of the skill level. The people at the bottom end of the skill level, they're not going to be able to get hired because they don't have enough skill to be worth $15 an hour. And this, I know that we're both white, so people are going to hit me on this one, but this primarily hurts black people. Well, not just black, minorities in general. This primarily hurts minorities in general. It's probably not, it's not going to affect the 15, 16, 17-year-old white kids in the neighborhood, and you're going to be lauding this on as though this is some amazing thing for equality for people, but instead you're just creating these people unable to find a job.
Yeah, you're entrenching them in poverty for however many more generations.
So now they've just become more dependent on government to pay because they haven't been able to find a job because they have been at the lower end of the skill, at least in the viewpoint of the people hiring. They're
well, they don't have as many marketable skills. They're often behind the eight ball because of targeting by government for petty drug offenses that a lot of wealthier and or whiter people would get slapped on the wrist for. So now it's already harder for them to find a job. If I have to pay someone $15 an hour, am I paying someone with a squeaky clean record who lives up the road? Or am I, hiring someone who's having to bus in, who may have a felony that I don't even want to look into, and who am I going to hire? I mean, the very first minimum wage laws were pushed for by unions who were, in their words, because this was a time when it was acceptable to say such a thing. They said that their goal was to keep black people out of different sectors of the economy, because the idea was if a business person had to pay more, they were going to hire a nice white person, not a black person. So, all of these laws, gun control, minimum wage, any kind of regulations, anything that raises the barrier to entry and makes it harder for less privileged people to work their way up or invest their way up or whatever their way up, risk their way up out of poverty and into the middle class and higher into the different strata of the economic ladder. Anything designed to do that is going to disproportionately harm people of color, racial minorities, ethnic minorities, any disadvantaged, less privileged groups are going to be disproportionately harmed by these things. So, so don't do it.
Right. So don't raise the minimum wage. Allow people to work for their jobs, to negotiate for their salaries or their hourly wages, not salaries probably, but allow them to learn how to do these things as opposed to just saying, yeah, this is what you're going to get. And then, all right, well, cool. Because also at the same time, if everybody at Publix is making, I don't know what people at Publix make, but if all grocery stores are $15 an hour, that means that milk, bread, eggs, toilet paper, chips, soda, everything, meat, all of them are going to go up in cost in order to cover the $15 an hour to have these people working there.
Yep.
And that means that at some point in the not too distant future, $15 an hour is no longer a livable wage.
Right. Yep. Yep. Which also disproportionately hurts the poor. For those who have a large amount of the higher of a percentage of your income that goes to basic needs, food, basic housing, basic clothing, the higher of a percentage of your income goes to that, the more disproportionately hurt you are by these types of things. Because for people that, most of their money is in investments and, fancy cars and airplanes and, yachts and whatever else, that's okay, great. My milk went up. I don't care. The price of a gallon of milk doubled. I don't care.
I would care so much if a price of a gallon of milk doubled. I go through a gallon like every 3 days.
Well, there you go. And that's the thing. So it's going to be, you're going to be, well, you drink a lot of milk.
I drink a lot
you're
of
going to be, the less money you make and the more of your income is based on, the more of your income is spent on basic staples, your basic hierarchy of needs, the more this is going to disproportionately hurt you, both in that you will probably lose your job or you may lose your job or not get a promotion because they're not promoting people anymore because everyone's already making that much. Or losing your job, and best case scenario, you get to keep your job and your wage goes up, but your cost of living goes up pretty much the same amount anyway. And your taxes went up, so you actually get less.
Right.
So how did this help you? It didn't.
It didn't.
Thank you, Jeff Bezos.
Thank you, Jeff Bezos. Thank you,
Jerk
Jeff.
Face.
Thank you, Jeff.
Jerk Face Bezos.
Jeff Flake Bezos. Seriously, how does Jeff Flake stand?
How does he stand?
Yeah. He has 0 spine.
A series of levers, I assume.
Yeah, I guess.
That was all because
through automation, not through minimum wage.
It's all CGI. He caved because someone confronted him in an elevator or something, right?
I don't know if it's because somebody confronted him in the elevator or if it's because off to the side of that room of the hearing room, there's a really small room, and the Democrats held him in there, and we're asking him. They were like, "Hey, what can we do to get you to change this? Will you change this? Will you change your vote?" And
we won't let you leave until you do.
Right. Because, the vote was supposed to happen at 1:30. They didn't let him leave till 1:50. Because Chuck Grassley apparently is a stickler for time.
Punctuality.
Yeah,
Okay.
for punctuality and time. And he was getting visibly upset during the trial. And then he went over to the room twice to be like, "Hey, we're voting." And the second time they came out, and that's when Flake.
That's when he said it.
I almost said Bezos. That's when Bezos changed his vote.
Damn Bezos.
Darn Bezos. What are you even doing there? Nobody
Why are you even in
you.
the Senate, you jerk?
You crazy Jeff Bezos. Go back to Amazon. But yeah, then that's when Flake changed his vote. Well, he didn't really change. He still voted yes, but he was like, only if we can have the... I really feel that it would be best for the nation if we could get a 1-week investigation by the FBI and limited in size and scope for no more than 7 days, and in order to heal this nation.
Because that's what it did.
Right. The FBI is coming out.
Healed nation?
Yeah. The FBI is coming out tomorrow with their ruling. I'm willing to bet. I think. Rosenstein's still employed. So we both lost that bet. She showed up.
Oh, that's right. We had a bet.
Right, we did.
Yeah.
She showed up, so we both won that bet. And he has not been confirmed as of yet, so we're kind of it's a wash.
In limbo. This is all political theater. I think
He's going to get confirmed.
it's going to get confirmed. He doesn't. And,
Okay,
and
well,
if
so first bet. What's the FBI come back with?
what's that?
What does the FBI come back with?
That they'll give some kind of statement about respecting accusations and victims and whatever, because they're just as political an entity as all these others. But they're ultimately, I think they're going to come back and say that the meat of what they're going to say is that they have nothing. There's nothing nothing actionable. There's nothing that they can move on to go further in an investigation.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I'm going to say that tomorrow, whenever they make this announcement, they're going to say, yeah, we couldn't find anything, and we're not taking anything away from the victims. It's just that there's nothing. Right. Essentially the same thing.
There's not enough there. Right.
The vote is Saturday. The vote is scheduled for Saturday. Mm-hmm. If the vote happens Saturday, I'll be $20 richer. And, well, if he gets confirmed, I'll be $20 richer. But does he get confirmed?
If it happens Saturday, I think whenever the vote happens, I think he's confirmed. Will the vote happen Saturday? I have no idea, because you know what? I could see the FBI saying, we need more time, because first of all, the FBI hates Trump.
That's true.
Remember that?
Yeah, that's true. I'll give you that.
Definitely were. Peter did we ever confirm how that's said?
No. I like saying it our way.
Well, I like really laboring through it. Good old Peter. He was not an outlier. Like, that's how the FBI thinks of, specifically of Trump, and really I think of Republicans in general. The left is, people don't like to admit this, but the left is the FBI is a creature of the left and always has been. They may have been anti-communist, but it was JFK, it was J. Edgar Hoover. It's always been a creature of the left, and so the political left anyway, or the Democrat left, I guess. That's what I should say. It's a creature of the Democratic Party, not necessarily ideological, but definitely partisan. So could they throw a curveball in things and say we need more time because there's some real stuff here that we might be able to find? Possibly. I think the most likely thing I think that's going to happen is they're going to say, blah blah blah, believe victims, but there's not enough here.
Right.
And then I think that the vote is going to happen. I
think, depending on what the FBI says tomorrow, will depend on whether or not the vote happens. Right. If the vote happens Saturday, he gets confirmed.
If it happens Saturday, he gets confirmed. Yeah. That would be I can't see that not happening.
Right.
But there's also been a lot of things that have happened that I couldn't see happening.
There's a big one going on still to this day that I did not see happening.
Just keeps happening.
Yeah, it happened around November 9th of 2016.
And it just keeps
going. It just keeps going. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, those are really the only two things to really bet on this week.
Lindsay Lohan was punched by Syrian immigrants in Russia in an Instagram video. I have nothing else to say on that subject.
Okay. Well,
but when you're done watching the show, including you, Matt.
Immediately I'm gonna go find that.
Lindsay Lohan. It's another one I don't know how to say.
Lohan.
Syrian refugee video Instagram. That ought to be enough.
She is fantastic.
Yeah, she tries to she yells at them in a fake Pakistani accent and tries to take their children. And so then the woman punches her, and then she starts crying and saying how she just wanted to help.
A man in Florida today was arrested, I believe at a Walmart, not surprisingly.
Florida man at Walmart. Nice.
Yeah. A Florida man at Walmart. He was arrested today for grabbing and trying to kiss an 8-year-old girl after offering the mother $200,000 for her.
God.
Yep.
That's another one.
That was today.
So when I was in Florida as a very brief hurricane refugee, I actually refused to go into Walmart and sent my wife instead because
How manly of you.
I'm
very
super masculine.
brave.
I'm no Lindsey Graham, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And
But who is really?
yeah, exactly. Who else is as ballsy as old Lindsay? But I was like, I've seen this movie before about Florida man in Walmart, so I didn't. But I did go to Whole Foods, which was nice.
Nice.
Cool
Did I
side
tell
note
you
there.
that-
But yeah, so
Did I
go
t-
Google those stories, folks.
Did I tell you the story about the? I don't know if I talked about this on the show or not. There's a guy on there's a guy here in Florida who went
Okay.
homeless guy who found a dead body, and he had to be mentally ill in some capacity to do what he did next. He decided he needed to alert authorities of this dead body. And
Okay.
the best way he could think to do it was to take the skull and use it as a puppet at a local Publix.
It certainly alerted authorities.
It
I'd assume.
definitely alerted authorities. Authorities were alerted.
Authority alerting had been
Yeah,
accomplished.
it had happened. It had definitely happened. But after he finished his puppet show, he took the puppet off, the skull, put it on a nearby trash can, setting it there right on top, and then he sat down next to the trash can and waited patiently for police to arrive, where then he took them to the body.
Well, he was trying to do his civic duty. It
He was,
sounds
I
like.
mean, it sounds like he was really trying to do. And he,
Yeah, I was going to say, this sounds like a very disturbed person who was trying to do the right thing
right.
in his own heartwarming way.
Right.
Was the skull already detached from the body?
I don't know that part. I don't even know if there was skin and muscle on the skull or if it was just a skeleton. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, but
Well, you know what?
Fun fact: the Talking Heads appeared at an Orlando Publix that day.
Is that true?
No,
Oh, okay. I was gonna Of course, this is the best timeline.
Publix is becoming quite the venue. They got the Talking Heads,
They've got the talking heads, all of them,
all of them.
including the lip sync ones. So it sounds like this guy he meant well.
Right. I think he did. I think he meant well.
I
just think
it
he
sounds
was
like he
just
was trying to do a solid to
right.
the
I think
TV
he,
there.
Schizophrenic of some kind.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Probably deeply psychologically disturbed,
Impaired.
/ hallucinating or whatever, and
Right.
in his dream state that he lives in, decided that this was the best way to alert authorities. It was the right thing. He did the right thing.
He did the right thing.
You find a dead body, you see something, you say something. He saw something, and he said something.
Right. I mean, he did. He did what you're supposed to do. And
He did it in his own special way.
And what if I was at that Publix, I'd probably I laugh about it, but I probably would have been absolutely terrified at that moment because where did he get this head? Like that's probably what I'm thinking. But
Oh yeah.
the way that I picture it in my head is I would have been the one laughing at the entire situation while other people are sitting there just terrified.
Horrified.
Yeah, just horrified. I'd be giggling like look at that guy. But yeah.
I would probably think it wasn't real.
Right? Like there were just so many things I'd be like, I don't know. But I probably would have laughed inappropriately at least once.
Oh yeah.
Easily.
Especially once the police showed up. Then I would have really laughed.
Right. Oh yeah. Then I would have definitely laughed because I would have been like, man, that guy going to jail. And then later I would have been reading, oh no, look.
He's actually a hero in his own special way.
Right. He's being given a medal.
The keys to the city.
The keys to Orlando. Yeah. Real quick before we sign off, since Jesus Christ. Since we're slightly over time.
Are we?
Just a little bit.
I'm shocked.
I know, that's so weird. I actually just wanted to thank all of our listeners and viewers because we constantly are breaking milestones here at the Muddied Waters of Freedom. And recently we've been breaking them more and more. And I just want to thank all of the listeners and the viewers who have been sticking with us and who have been sharing our stuff and who have been liking our stuff and who have been basically a member of the Muddied Waters family.
Family. It is a family.
It is a family. And we just thank you guys so much. We have been breaking so many records recently that it gets exciting at the end of every month to see if we're going to break them.
It's really cool.
It's a lot of fun.
And on all the venues, on Facebook, on YouTube, on SoundCloud,
Yep.
we are striving. We're becoming a proper couple of shows that we have here.
Right. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for just being a part of this crazy experiment we're calling our lives now.
Every moment of it, yeah.
Every moment, yeah. So thank you to to the Vanguard, as we so cleverly nicknamed them on like our third episode.
Nice.
Yeah. So Vanguard, thank you so much for
thank you, Vanguard.
Thank you, Vanguard, for being for just being awesome.
In the Muddied Waters family.
Right. In the very large Muddied Waters family.
The large and ever growing Muddied family.
Right. You are the real heroes of this show.
You are a greater hero than the homeless guy that took the skull to Publix.
Right.
In your own way.
I was about to say something so inappropriate, and I decided.
I had like 2 or 3 things I was going to say.
I know. I pulled that one back.
There are many heroes that we mentioned tonight.
So many heroes, but none of them are as important as
none of them as big as you.
Right. Next week I don't want to say what it is, but it's going to be a fun episode. It's going to be a big episode. Like we have something to celebrate next week.
It's going to be big.
It's going to be big.
I'm already celebrating inside.
Right. I'm celebrating somewhere. So
tomorrow night on My Fellow Americans, which is my show, I am interviewing Ashley Brewer, who is she is a full-time mother, and she's also a homeschooler. She's part of the unschooling movement, and she also is the creator of the Ashtopia blog and YouTube channel. And we talk about all sorts of stuff. So that's a fun episode. And then Thursday night, I have Ellie Mae, who has been on your show in the past, and this will be the very first live episode of the Writer's Block. I'm super excited.
I know. I was like, she was like, "Can we go live with it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have to."
I totally are ready for that.
I'm gonna have to make some graphics and stuff real quick, but yeah, I can do that real fast, I think.
You can do it. I believe in both of you, and I'm super excited to see you and Ellie Mae, one of my favorite people, live.
Yeah,
that's gonna be.
I'm excited
awesome.
to talk to her. I loved her when she was on your show, so I was like, yeah,
She's great.
Yeah.
She's absolutely great.
And then next Tuesday we've got a big thing. We've got a big thing.
Very, very special.
Very, very
a very special episode of the Muddied Waters of Freedom.
A very special episode of the Muddied Waters of Freedom next Tuesday. Yep. Oh, and also this bump for those of you who've been watching me for the last year. Thank you for not many of you mentioning this bump that's on my forehead. This bump comes off Monday.
That's a thing that I have not ever asked you about the bump.
You have never asked me about the bump.
I sojourned to never ask you.
I appreciate it.
What is the bump?
It's a cyst. It's a non-cancerous cyst.
Okay.
That's just slowly been growing over the last year and a half or so. And Monday, I'm having it removed. I'm gonna see. I thought about going live with the pimple popping. But I wasn't sure how
people are really into that.
I know. I wasn't. I was like, man, that'd be so funny for me.
I won't be watching it, but we'll probably get more views for that than everything
anything
else.
I know. I thought about it, and I'm not convinced I won't do it. It kind of depends. It really depends on if somebody comes with me, because I'm pretty certain that I think a doctor does this, and I don't think the nurse was going to be like,
yeah, you can't. So can
right? Yeah. Should I hit live now? Yeah, go ahead. And yeah, I don't know how that's all going to work. So if somebody comes with me, like the chances of that happening are much greater. But just something that I was considering, just because you get to say bye to a part of the Muddied Waters of Freedom that's been here for so long.
It's been there. I don't think I've ever known you not to have it.
Yeah.
It didn't appear to me anyway to grow, so I wasn't worried. I'm like, you know what? Maybe his skull does that, and I'm just
No.
none of my business. And if he brings it up, that's great. So, well, good. Well, goodbye.
Goodbye, Sisty.
Goodbye, Matt's non-cancerous cyst.
Yeah.
It's been a great time together.
Yeah.
It was great for me. I don't know about you, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I didn't care about it until people kept asking me if I'd been in a fight. And then
Like as it grew, yeah.
as it grew,
So,
and then it was just like, oh no. So
well,
I'm glad that
goodbye to you.
Yeah.
Happy trails to Matt's non-cancerous cyst,
God,
which may or may not be done live,
which may or may not be done live.
but we
They
shall
did push
see.
my appointment back. Like it was supposed to be done Thursday, and they pushed my appointment back to Monday. So I'm gonna, hey, since you've pushed my appointment back, would you mind just
Can we
hitting the
live stream?
live on this one right here?
So, for any fans of that out there, be on the lookout on that for Monday. I
Right.
certainly will not be there because I hate all that stuff.
I don't
But,
like watching it either, but I know that a lot of people do.
yeah, a lot of people like that. That would be a big draw. So you may want to do that.
Right.
My next guest will be my
Would-
cyst removal.
will be the non-cancerous cyst removal.
Right. So
Instead of a show next week, I just show that again as a live episode.
nothing wrong with that.
Nope. Anyway, got anything else?
That is literally. I am satisfied with everything I said tonight.
Good. I'm satisfied with everything you said.
Good. I feel good about it. So, folks, thank you. Oh, you say the thing.
Okay. Thank you all for, I mean, I don't really care. You can say it. Thank you all for tuning in. We do definitely appreciate it. Please continue. Please like and share this episode with everybody, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, which you can find those at facebook.com/muddiedwatersofreedom, at youtube.com. And you got to look for
search for
you got to look for MW Media. You got to search for MW Media because we still don't have enough likes to get our own URL.
To have our own address. But if you go to muddiedwatersoffreedom.com, everything is there.
Everything is
our
there.
Our SoundCloud is there. Our YouTube, our
Instagram
our
is.
SoundCloud, YouTube. Yeah, our Instagram is there.
I don't think it
I
is.
think our
Is it?
Twitter's there.
I don't think our Instagram is there.
The link, I believe, is there.
Okay, the link is there, and so is the
All
Twitter.
there.
Yeah, so yeah, just go to Muddy. Man, that makes it so much easier. MuddyWatersOfFreedom.com will give you all of the info for all of our social media.
Nice.
So
And that'll
yeah,
be good.
Yeah, that will be good, and you can go there and you can just delve into the world that is Matt and Spike.
Guys, thank you for joining us. We will see you. Well, I'll see you tomorrow. Matt will see you Thursday, and then we'll see you again next week. And where we're going,
We don't need roads.
Take my hands, it'll be okay. Close your eyes and let them fade away. We can get away from this place. You and me, we got that.
Good Lord, how dumb was I? Got more to learn and I know it all, can never know it all. I keep on learning that to live encouragement, it takes encouragement. Got a plan, a seed of confidence, and then you nourish it. No matter what it takes, let it take all it needs. I will never hit the brakes, cause I got you with me. I'm just living. When it comes to limitations, I don't listen. All mash like Griffin. Yeah.
Take my hands, it'll be okay. Close your eyes and let them fade away. We can get away from this place. You and me, we got that runaway phase. Take my hands, it'll be okay. Close your eyes and let them fade away. We can get away from this place. You and me, we got that runaway phase.
Stay on the runaway, keep on my renegade. All we got is time together, but I ain't got time to play. Let haters come my way, say what they gonna say. Treat them like my fears and keep on staring them back in the face. Keep living like there's no other day after today. Then day after tomorrow, 2 steps closer to being great. Cause that's my fate, if not that's fine. Only way to lose is if we never even try. Preach.
Take my hands, it'll be okay. Close your eyes and let them fade away. We can get away from this place. You and me, we got that runaway phase. Take my I can see it in your eyes. You're ready for a hell of a fight. I'll take yours if you